share exclusive content pre-show that they can only get on your network. That maybe it's kind of a sneak peek on some sessions, or, if it's some kind of fandom show, maybe it's a Q&A with one of the speakers in advance, just something that's really engaging to the audience.
Hey there, welcome to the Event Promoter Podcast. In this episode, we have the founder and CEO of Campfire Social, which is a software for membership communities. She's got a ton of experience with trade shows and brand activations, so we really get into the weeds around sponsorships and how event organizers can kind of sweeten the pot and make things more interesting and valuable for both the event attendees and the event sponsors. So if you're interested in sponsorships or communities and how to keep those engaged throughout and between events, you're not going to want to miss this one. EventVesta is a simple yet powerful tool for event organizers. With EventVesta, you can post your upcoming events to event calendars all through your city on the most popular websites without spending hours on each doing it manually. Get hours worth of marketing done for your events in 5 minutes or less with EventVesta. Check out how EventVesta can help your business today by checking out vesta.fun/podcast. Hey, Erica, thank you for joining me on the Event Promoter Podcast. Excited to get your perspective. I think you have kind of a unique perspective to add.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Do you want to give kind of what is your current title? What are you working on? Maybe just a little overview of your background.
Sure thing. So my name is Erica Bischaff, and I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Campfire Social. What we do is we create private professional networks for any member-based or attendee-driven organization. So what this means, it could be a trade or professional association, it could be an event organizer, it could be a smaller group that has, like-minded individuals that come together for meetings or some type of event. Our professional networking platform gives them a space to be able to interact through the sharing of content in order to build relationships every single day of the year. But what makes our platform so unique is we bake in a very interesting take on sponsorships, and we allow you to really monetize your professional network in a way that can be very fruitful.
I think that's a really interesting point that I'd like to just dive right in on
Let's
that, because we were discussing beforehand that sponsorships are a really important thing for organizations. So especially organizations that have repeating events. Like I host a startup networking event every month, and sponsors are the way that we make it happen. And I'm always looking for ways to get those sponsors more engaged and make sure that they're getting the value out of those deals. Let's back up one step there first on what can organizers of any kind of event be thinking about? Let's say they don't have sponsors at all right now.
Right.
How can they start thinking about and start approaching that?
Right.
And why should they?
Yeah. Well, first off, I mean, sponsors, or like you could think of it as could be exhibiting brands. It depends on the type of event that you're hosting. Sometimes I like to not call sponsors because I have to think of banner ads when I think of sponsorship. And sponsor ads, in my opinion, are just not effective. There's no engagement with it, and they kind of grow old in the background. So I want to define a sponsor, if we're going to use that term, as some kind of brand that can be involved in your ecosystem as more than just a logo.
Yeah.
So once we've defined that, I personally have a bias towards sponsorships in this manner because I think that these brands are the ones that will facilitate better dialogue with your key constituents. If we think about brands just in general, they're the ones that are typically innovating. They're the ones that are aware of the trends in the industry because they have to be in order to be able to sell their products and services. So because they have all of this industry knowledge, they have the ability to share it, and they want to share it because the more that they're seen as a thought leader, the more likely they are to be able to convert customers, actually potential customers into actual paying customers. And so if you can engage these sponsors, appropriately within your network, then you have the ability to not only be able to grow your community through leveraging their thought leadership, but you have the ability to really generate meaningful revenue for your organization.
Yeah, I like to like have partners and paid partnerships is like a nice like differentiator because there's partners too that are like in kind.
Right,
They may be able to provide a bunch of value, but it's not dollars. But there's still
right,
really great ways that they can be engaged in providing value that
right,
save you a bunch of money.
right.
uh,
But here's the thing. So my background has historically been more in large scale trade and professional associations or bigger for profit show organizers. So that whole notion of sponsorship takes a whole different kind of level compared to, more of a smaller organization that's just building their community, right?
yeah.
The thing is, most smaller groups look for these in kind. So, hey, you know what? If you provide us with your platform, we'll advertise your platform, which is great. But what the sponsors really want is the ability to talk to your audience. And I
Mhm.
think that's where you could leverage the whole idea of building a community or leveraging a professional networking tool to be able to bring in these exhibiting or sponsoring voices to be able to do more than just provide a software package. They can actually
What
talk about something meaningful.
what are some of the ways that um like I hate to use the really corporate term like activations, but like how what are some of those ideas and ways that like a sponsor could be integrated into a community that feels like it's adding value to the community and obviously is adding value for the sponsor?
Right. Well, it obviously depends on the platform. I'm going to selfishly speak towards Campfire Social because this is what we do and this is why our clients love us so much is we have these activation areas baked into the platform that allow these sponsors to do more than just have a banner. They get to have sponsored posts. We'll call it that. But like most digital marketing, our platform allows them to actually target exactly who they want their post to be seen by.
Hmm.
So hypothetically, if they're hosting their own webinar or they have a new product launch, they can actually pay the host of, their Campfire Social Professional Network to be able to pay for this content to be posted in the feed that will be directed to their ideal buying audience, which becomes a win-win across the board. And then the host can actually provide data and other metrics around how many people saw the post, who interacted. You can actually see some of the commentary that you don't get when you do some more traditional forms of digital marketing. So it's a really nice way to get feedback on the messaging that they want to portray.
I think there's an important dynamic there that hopefully the brand is getting, but depending on the size of brand you're pitching, they may not have this articulated already. Where I think a lot of people realize how important thought leadership is, but they're only doing it through their own channels. So like their own podcasts or their own events or something, but being able to distribute that into other people's audiences uh,
Right.
is a really great way to reach new people that you're not already and bring people into your own channels as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's really interesting that you've built tools to enable that. I think that there are interesting ways that people have done that through. I mean, I've been in a lot of conferences where people, the main sponsors or whatever, have a keynote section, and that's part of it. And then they have like a networking booth, or they have the coffee station, and people can come up and talk and ask questions. And it's like
Right.
when we lost that in person ability to do those kind of really personal touches, it's interesting just kind of seeing how people are solving for that online. Do you have any ideas and suggestions just from running Campfire Social around how, like, let's say an organizer does have some kind of community platform built or they're using Campfire Social, like how do they keep their membership and their community engaged in between those kind of pillar events that they have?
Right. Well, the truth is, it's all about good content, and you have to have a content strategy, which I know for most people right now, they might be like just shrugging their shoulders in utter defeat, saying that's a lot of work. It is a lot of work.
Hmm.
Anybody that just thinks that they can put together a community or a professional network without having actually done the work to plan properly, you just open yourself up for it to fail. People need a reason to be a part of it. If they don't have that reason, they're not going to. Now, if you have a set audience already of people that attend an event, you already have a leg up when creating a community or a professional network, because people are they're already stuck to you. They want to attend. So some kind of tricks and tips that I always recommend are things like share exclusive content pre-show that they
Mm.
can only get on your network. That maybe it's kind of a sneak peek on some sessions, or, if it's some kind of fandom show, maybe it's a Q&A with one of the speakers in advance, just something that's really engaging to the audience. You could funnel ticket sales through your network if it's the right kind of platform, that just force people to have to log in, create their profile, get in, so they purchase your ticket. You can have session speakers create groups around their session that continue to live on throughout the year, that keeps them coming back because they can keep referencing materials that were presented. Those are just a few ideas, but there's more that you can just keep seeding your platform with throughout the year, but it takes strategy and planning to do it effectively.
Another one that I've seen, I just want to tack on because you made me think of it,
Please.
is asking ahead of, like, having a speaker or maybe just the organizer asking ahead of time for questions. Like if the speaker's like, here's what we're going to be talking about, maybe here's a preview, and being like, what
Yeah.
are some questions or related topics that we should, and getting the audience engaged before, because then they want to go. And I've been to a couple like events that have done that really well, and then it's like I'm really motivated to go see that speaker
Right.
because they might answer my question, and then like have a whole discussion about it, and then afterwards we
Yeah.
can go back into the community and then like online and have that like continue and blossom into whatever it turns into. But
Right. Absolutely. And, on Campfire Social, we have organizations create groups around, more location based. So before an event. So if we're based in Chicago. So if you're in Chicago versus Minneapolis, you can start forming these groups, so you can start meeting people in your general area, so you can get excited about, who those people are, and then you meet them live at the event, and then you can really keep those relationships going both virtually and in real life year round too.
yeah, I think that's a really good point. So, and I think we've touched on a little bit of like how sponsors can be tied into that, or exhibitors or whatever. What are some ways that you've seen just in events, just with your experience like doing stuff with trade shows and stuff, what are some
Sure.
interesting ways you've seen brands be able to very strongly engage, maybe creatively or just in a way that's memorable, as like an activation?
Well, I'm a sucker for food.
Mm.
I was at a show recently, and there was one of the destinations that had, um, like fresh seafood, like just
Mm.
fresh shucked oysters, and matching wine to go with it. I'm like, this is phenomenal. Like, I just wanted to keep coming back to
Yeah,
that to
yeah.
that
Feed
road.
people. That's a good, yeah.
Right, right. You know, I mean, the thing is, right now there's a lot of talk about sustainability. So the whole notion of giveaways, I think for the right kind of giveaway, that can be a very effective activation. At the same time, you've got to balance that against, a lot of the sustainability trends, which is important to not be wasteful at events. I'm trying to think of, if there's something else that has really stood out at an event. And I have to say there's definitely opportunity out there.
Yeah. I've
We're
seen some
very
cool ones. I used
creative.
to I used to do event technology at South by Southwest, and those are some of the coolest
Oh,
brand
okay.
activations ever.
Okay.
Just because they're inherently creative and they're kind of
Right.
art installations, they're usually
Yes.
interactive. I couldn't even like pin down one specific one at the moment, but
Right.
there's so many of them that are, it's an
Right.
experience, but it's a brand. It's like a branded experience where and there's usually representatives from
Right.
the brand there to like meet
Right.
and interact with people.
Right.
And usually they're driving people to their social. There's nothing they're trying to sell at the moment there. They're just like
Right.
trying to get people involved with them online.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
the experiential aspect is so key. I mean, when we exhibit, we bring artificial campfires with
oh, nice. Yeah.
to create that, just that whole visual of, coming to sit around the campfire, just
I
to
love it.
drive interest. But
You should do s'mores.
well, we've actually done that before, but the product that we used to bring was discontinued.
Oh
So
no.
I know. So we need if anybody listens and they're a s'more manufacturer that can produce prepackaged s'mores, contact me.
There you go.
Because unfortunately, most shows have a fire code that they don't actually
Y-
allow you to have a real
Sure,
campfire.
yeah, that's fair.
But
Yeah.
that would be the best activation if you could come sit around and start making s'mores on site.
Yeah, it gets people sitting around talking and stuff, and then you have your representatives there in the conversation.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah,
That would be the best. So again, anybody listening that has an idea, I'm all ears.
awesome. I'm going to give you a couple seconds here just to kind of talk a little bit more in detail about Campfire Social,
Sure.
and how, if anyone's listening to this and they're like, oh, that sounds really interesting. A, how can they learn more? And also just kind of what is your description of it, and who it would be right for?
Right. So Campfire Social in its nutshell literally looks like a private professional network, like many of the popular ones that everybody's familiar with. Today, it's highly visual, multimedia based, just very clean, very easy to use. Our platform, in addition to having the ability to network with your peers as well as sponsors in a provider directory, we allow you to form groups. Event organizers can push announcements out. Again, everything is very targeted, so you can target specific types of announcements to different members of your organization. Our platform also helps to drive traffic to your events. It could be to help drive traffic to sell merch, and even learning opportunities. With one of our products, we actually have a partnership with Trade Show University that provides unique educational content for exhibitors and sponsors to be able to learn how to be more effective in what they do. So our base platform, Campfire Social, it's really geared more for a larger trade show organizer or a trader professional association, could be a larger nonprofit, even a corporate that has kind of other corporate clients that they want to be able to interact with just outside of the day to day. We have a second product called Ignite that is actually very new for Campfire Social. And what it is, it's a private professional network just for exhibitors and sponsors,
Hmm.
specifically within any one industry vertical. Because the thing is, when we think of engagement, we think of members and attendees. We don't necessarily think about how do we engage better with those exhibitors and sponsors that are writing us these beautiful checks. So the
Mm-hmm.
platform allows exhibitors and sponsors within any one industry vertical to be able to form strategic partnerships, to figure out how to create referral relationships, come together for co-branded products and solutions, and really just maximize their offerings and create better value to their own clients. And that's a product that's geared for trade show organizers to give as an added benefit to their exhibitors and other sponsors. So that's Campfire Social. If anybody's listening that would like to learn more, they can reach out to us. Our website is just campfiresocial.io. And, but you can email me at erica.bashaf@campfiresocial.io as well.
Great. I'll at minimum have that down in the descriptions
Okay.
wherever you're listening or watching. So
Perfect.
thank you so much, Erica. Is there anything
Yeah.
else you want to leave the audience with before we sign off?
No, I think this was great. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Event Promoter Podcast. Event Promoter Podcast is brought to you by Event Vesta. Check out Event Vesta at info.eventvesta.com. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, we'd love a rating. Tell us how the show has been for you. If you leave a comment when you rate us on Apple Podcasts, we'll make sure to shout that out in one of the future episodes. If you have any questions for me as an event promoter or for one of our guests, we can bring those up on those calls. Thanks for listening, and make sure to share this with other event promoters that you think this would be helpful for. Bye.